Hello and welcome to HR from my shed. Happy New Year 2021, eh? And we're still talking about restrictions and lockdowns. So across the UK there are different levels of lockdown, but we're all in it. In Wales today we heard the announcement that our level 4 restrictions that came into place on the 20th of December have now been extended until the 29th of January. So there's no leeway for anything to open back up yet. What it has done as well though is our schools and colleges have closed for the majority of pupils, still open for key workers, children and vulnerable children, but otherwise it's online, and that's now been extended. It was until the 18th of January, but that's now been extended until the review on the 29th of January, but we're actually expecting that to be in place until after the February half term. Areas that Mark Drakeford has spoken about today is strengthening the restrictions in 3 key areas. So supermarkets, workplaces and schools and colleges. Supermarkets, we're expecting that to be the protection for staff, which is most important, and for the public that shop there. And that's just going to go back to how it was in March really, making sure that numbers on the doors are being monitored, social distancing, masks wearing where they can, etc. And limiting the number of people that shop, so no need for families to go shopping, one person can do the shopping. Schools and colleges, we're waiting for that to be announced, and with the workplaces, Mark Drakeford has said that even though the message is stay at home, work from home if you can, he does accept, thankfully, that some workplaces you do need to be in work to carry out your jobs and to carry out the job successfully as well. So what he is saying is that we need to be looking at the measures, and he's going to be talking to employers and unions over the next few days to see where they can be strengthened. So in the meantime, it's still very much the same. Make sure your workplace is as COVID secure as you can. So that's your risk assessments, social distancing, hygiene, etc. One other big point that's come out this week has been a talking point, certainly on the Facebook page and through messages, is this right to be furloughed if you're a working parent. Unions have been saying, well, I've heard it on quite a few radio stations, that employers, you must furlough your employees if they are working parents. You must support them when the schools are closed. I totally agree that we must support working parents. We must do the best that we can. But actually unions, there is no right to be furloughed. Okay, there never has been. And there is not a right to be furloughed. It's up to every individual employer whether they participate in the furlough scheme to start with, and then there's an agreement to be made between the employer and the employee about the flexible furlough scheme. But what HMRC has said is that you can furlough somebody for the provision of childcare. Okay, so in the past we've always associated furlough with you would be furloughed because there's no work for you. Now what HMRC is saying, that you are allowed to furlough employees, even though there's work there, you still are allowed to furlough them so that they can look after their children. It's a very difficult conversation to be had between employers and employees, but it's one that's needed because you need to find the compromise. Okay, so employers will still need staff to carry out the work. Employees, of course, you still need to look after the children, but it's finding the balance. It's looking, you're still allowed to have childcare bubbles, you're still allowed to have support with your children. So it's looking to see who else can share the childcare with you, and then can you vary your hours, etc. So lots happening again, isn't it? And we haven't even touched on the vaccines in the workplaces. That's going to happen. Vaccines are being rolled out across the country. And hopefully next week on HR from my shed, we'll be able to discuss vaccines in the workplace and whether you can enforce them or not. Lots to cover as always. Thank you for all of your support in 2020, and I hope you're all going to carry on supporting me in 2021. Keep checking the Facebook for updates, and if needed, I'll pop back into HR from my shed for another update. Take care everybody, and goodbye from HR from my shed.